let's talk about luck. Hello and welcome, fellow lucky humans, to Confessions of a Lucky Storyteller. My name is Joe Wilson and I am a lucky storyteller. Sorry I've been MIA. I pretty much physically and emotionally kind of crashed after what I thought was my campaign ending, which was not my campaign ending, which is still going. Link below. It's a longer story. Let's talk about luck. The reason that I call this show and a ton of blogs I've written for a few years Confessions of a Lucky Storyteller is that I feel like I'm lucky that I got to tell some stories and I'm going to tell a lot more. And the reason for that is I did not think I was going to get to tell any stories. I moved to Los Angeles like lots of people, which I've mentioned in an earlier show, and pursuing the writing, acting, stand-up thing, and it didn't work out. Next month is my 18th year in Los Angeles. 18 fucking years. And it didn't work out the way I planned, really at all. That is kind of the outcome more than you would think or that you hear about, because you don't see a lot of newspaper stories about people quitting pursuing dreams. There's not a lot of news coverage of, hey, that guy gave up. The reason I don't call this show Confessions of a Lucky Writer or a Lucky Director or a Lucky Writer-Director is that I don't feel like I never wanted to be a director. Really didn't. I wanted to just write movies. You know, writing TV specs was boring for me because all I was doing was kind of like auditioning on paper. And I know that's what you have to do. And I don't give a fuck. I did it a bunch of times. And after a while, I'm like, this is really fucking boring. And thought, well, if I'm going to put all this time into writing something, I'm going to write movies with like original stories and characters. You know, had some close calls, had, you know, lit managers, all that shit. And I told myself the story that I was going to, like, you know, win a bunch of contests, get representation, sell a spec or two, do some rewrite work, go do some shitty paying stand-up on the road, like featuring and opening for people, and pay the bills writing. And that didn't work. I always paid the bills doing something else. You know, here and there I'd get like a gig, not like a TV writing gig, like somebody hired me to write a short for them, that kind of a thing. And I love doing that. It's great fun, but I didn't move here to write shorts for people. I moved here to work in the entertainment industry. And although I've had a couple of very brief stints, it never turned into a career. So the reason I say storyteller is because, you know, blogs are stories to some extent. These videos are stories. Coffee. The reason I say storyteller, which I know is not an industry-friendly term, but I don't work in any industry. The reason I ended up directing was I wrote a bunch of short films that other people made that were comedy. When I wrote them, you know, they were comedy then. After they were made, questionable if it was still comedy. And that's when I decided, okay, I have to learn how to direct, shoot, edit, light, all that stuff. And I went to college for photography, so I know a bunch of shit about cameras and spent a lot of my life taking pictures. So that part was easier, but I still had to learn a bunch of shit, and I still am. So I started directing only because I figured, well, if I'm going to write a short for free that's going to be made for free, then I'd rather make something that I like that's free. You know, actually make something that I intended, that has the tone I want, that I saw, oh, okay, I have to direct this to get that. I can't just write it. I can't, even when talking to the director about the tone, it's still, I had to be working with the actors directly, explaining them exactly what I meant, exactly what the tone is, and then they take it to wherever they do, and we come to this sort of point where everything works. And I'm very lucky that I got to do that. If you are a writer and you are, or a storyteller, or really anybody who wants to do something, and you tell yourself that you can't do that thing because I don't have a camera, I don't know how to use a camera, I don't know how, I don't. You have access to the internet, and I don't know if you know, but there's a lot of information on the internet. If you tell yourself that you want to do something, and the thing that you tell yourself that you can't do, which in my case was, I didn't tell myself I didn't want to, I can't direct. I said, I don't want to direct. Like, it just seemed like directors, pardon me, always kind of seemed like assholes who knew how everything should be. And there's a little bit in there. But I really like working with actors. I'm always holding a camera and operating when I'm directing, and I'm listening to a boom operator, and I usually have one other camera operator, sometimes two, and that's it. Other than a makeup artist, there is no other, that's it. It's just us. And so you can do a lot with a little. Think about the obstacles that are in your way, and maybe you're luckier than you think, because maybe you can do things that you don't think you can do now. And the reason is you really haven't tried. Or if you tried once or twice and you failed. Keep trying, try other stuff. I didn't plan on making a comic book or a graphic novel, but here I am doing it. And it's really fun. So never planned on that. But I didn't tell myself I couldn't do it. I told myself, oh, I want to tell this story. What do I have to do to be able to tell this story? I'll learn that. That's the way I learn. It's a lot easier for me when I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. What do I need to do that? Oh, I have to learn a bunch of this shit? Okay, fine. Oh, I have to learn how to edit. I have to learn software. I have to learn hard. Okay, yeah, sure, no problem. But I'm not going to just learn it so I can be the dick at the party going, well, blah, 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 techno-paternalism, blah, blah. You don't know what you're talking about because I know technology and rah, rah, rah. Apparently, the dick at the party sounds like the penguin from the old Batman TV show in the 60s. The reason that you might be luckier than you think is that sometimes you can do stuff that you don't think you can do, and there's no one around you who's saying, go for it. So try two things. Try telling yourself that you can fucking do it, and try telling yourself for one day that you're lucky. Just find some shit that you feel lucky for having in your life. And maybe just, being alive. For some people, that's kind of a big deal. Thanks for stopping by again. Sorry for the absence. I'm back. I got one more week campaign, 7 more days, and I'm gonna go down big. So link below if you want to help out. I'd appreciate it. And I will talk to you next week.